Hey, Howard.
In case you need a lawyer, here's my business card. I'm attorney Howard Ankin.
Oh, hey, Howard.
If you or someone you know has been hurt at work, Ankin Law can get the medical bills paid, the lost wages reimbursed,
Oh, hey, Howard.
and the compensation you deserve.
Hey, Howard.
We're one of the largest filers throughout the state of Illinois of workers' compensation claims. We're here to help. Call 312-6-million. Injury law made personal, that's Ankin Law.
Next on the Sox Machine podcast, Jim and I are going to dish out our 2025 awards. I think that there's going to be some repeats, Jim, but maybe we have some disagreements. There are 3 awards that we're giving out: our MVP, White Sox Pitcher of the Year, and Most Improved Player for the Chicago White Sox in 2025. Jim, let's start at the top. Who is your most valuable player for the Chicago White Sox in 2025?
It feels weird to say it, but I'm going to say Colson Montgomery. Not just because he led the team in wins above replacement, not just because like the power surge, but a huge lift to just a few things that had plagued the White Sox over previous years, like problem solving, getting a player out of a huge rut. It did not cost Colson the season. Maybe cost him last season. But when he started off the year in a tailspin, they took a proactive approach to get him out of it. The way they talk about it sometimes makes me a little bit nervous because like Jairo Iriarte had the same sabbatical that didn't quite work for him. Yeah. It's not going to solve everything, taking guys out of the circulation and making them have to take a month off and play in a practice environment. But for Colson, it worked. And then like when he got to the majors, playing shortstop, like the whole idea that Venable and Getz preached about pre-pitch movement being important to defensive success. Yeah. When you look at him play shortstop, it looks like it shouldn't work, being 6'5" and not being especially fast, but he got to the position he needed to be to make good throws, which I think is for him to stick at shortstop. That's what you want to see from him. Like he'd have to make sensational plays. Just when he got to the glove on it, he seemed like he was in position to plant and throw, and that's good enough. So between him playing a shortstop and solving, at least for now, who plays shortstop for the 2026 White Sox, maybe big picture if Billy Carlson matriculates smoothly is on a timetable where he and Montgomery is on the same roster. Like Carlson easily kicks him off that position, but for the time being, he plays shortstop, and then he provides left-handed power, which the White Sox have been seeking for so long, and providing that lineup balance is huge. Making opposing managers think about how they manage their bullpen is a lot more important. Makes his lineup seem a lot more dangerous, and just seeing this hype that's been following him for years turn into something, given just the warts on his profile and given the journey he took, being able to deliver on that hype, even if it was like a journey through the desert at one point. You just saw the lift it provided everybody. It provided the fans in the stands when he would hit a concourse challenging homer, when it provided the broadcast for giving John Schriff and Steve Stone, Brooke Fletcher, Connor McKnight, just a positive thing to rave about that did not seem forced. As we've seen so many times the last few years, like whenever there was like a good storyline, they just milked the hell out of it. In this case, like having Montgomery buoy the offense and turn it into a real major league offense for stretches of the time, when they would speak positively about him or what the offense is doing, you'd think like, yeah, this is fun. I'm not second guessing their programming. I'm not overthinking it. Just like, it's a fun, they just did something fun. And now they're talking about how much fun that was. And this should be a more normal thing for following a baseball team versus like thinking like, are they trying to sell me on something that's not actually there? So that for those reasons, Montgomery's my MVP.
I agree with you. Montgomery is also the White Sox MVP. I could see some people would want to make a case for Lenyn Sosa because he led the team in home runs and in RBIs. But for the White Sox, especially post All-Star break, the big boost that Montgomery provided. And to your point, Jim, we don't have to worry about who's playing shortstop next season. If you go back to our podcast episodes at the end of spring training, we are openly questioning what in the world are the White Sox doing at shortstop. And that is a dangerous place to be. And it was for the White Sox. They only won 5 games in the entire month of April. Jacob Amaya is drowning out there at the shortstop position. And then Chase Maidroth gets called up and he's got to play out of position. Maidroth did the best that he could. And he was better than average defensively at shortstop, but he doesn't have the throwing arm to play there every single day. To not have that worry is fantastic as far as roster building going to the 2026 season. I can already tell, Jim, Colson Montgomery might be one of the most divisive players that we're going to be previewing next season, in which we see the hope. We watched Colson Montgomery every game in the major leagues. Yeah, he's going to be a .310 on base percentage guy, but it's 140 game pace based on the numbers that he provided this year with the torpedo bat. He could be a 40 home run guy for the White Sox playing shortstop. But I think there's going to be, I'm not going to say a lot of negativity, but a lot of analysts on a national level that would disagree with us and say, Josh and Jim, Colson could really crater because the on-base percentage skills, the lack of contact skills, the high strikeout rate is going to have him crash. This might have just been a flash in the pan, and I think we're going to have those arguments going to next season.
I thought you were going to say, we're going to be talking about, all the ways he's going to thrive. And then we talked to Keith Law.
Yeah, pretty much, maybe in February.
I'm thinking I need to book him for a 2-part podcast because I think we could just get lost in bantering about Montgomery back and forth and batting around his profile, and the all of the attributes and the red flags and having them go to war. We could just end up talking 38 minutes for a 40-minute segment about what Montgomery does. But no, he splits, he certainly splits fans and analysts. He also, I think he splits probably analysts just in terms of like the raw power is legit and in a way that was not described. Like the homers he hit in Charlotte, occasionally he'd get into one, but not in the way that he routinely got into one with the White Sox. Like maybe it's a case of Charlotte being so short to right field that like any homer that bounces onto Mint Street is like, oh, he hit that one 380 feet. It just cleared all the seats and kept rolling on concrete. And then you see him, hit the same, or hit what looks like the same ball in terms of like distance over the fence. And you realize like, oh, that was 435 with 115 miles per hour off the bat. And that's not something you saw regularly. So he harnessed a power that had not been a part of his profile. And I think was part of the reason why, scouts had to think that he would have to hit like 250 to get on base 350 because he's going to slug 450 or something like that. And ultimately it would be like a, maybe plus power at the most, whereas like the power he showed was like plus. And that's different. So I'm, as we see top prospect list roll out and we see, well, actually, he won't be on top prospect list, but as we see like reviews of prospects and we see, season previews, especially from, guys who talk about prospects who graduated, we see breakout lists or we see, dark horses, etc. He's gonna be something to watch. And yeah, I will have to tell Keith that if we talk about Colson, I'm going to require an hour and a half from him rather than 45 minutes just to make sure that we cover everything we need to cover.
Thanks for watching the latest Sox Machine video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/SoxMachine. And if you ever need something to listen to, subscribe to the Sox Machine podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music.